I guess I just always wanted to sing for a band, you know, for just years and years, and I love performing and stuff, I guess. I just wanted to be out there, you know, and doing that, you know, and I saw other people doing it, and I thought, you know, I could do that if I could sing, you know, that would be nice. Can't get out of bed and you're down, and it hurts to breathe, yeah.
The Auckland scene's huge. You start a band in 3 weeks and you're playing on stage, and everyone's into it, man. It's like the whole Auckland scene's just down.
We got over Nelly Furtado, I guess. She's still pretty cool though.
I just think it's really cool that we've got so many great bands coming out of this country now, and I'd really like to see them be able to spread out around the world, but we'll see.
When you see them, you know, it's just amazing. I don't know what to say.
The first place I reckon that started up was Paradise Bar, which was a tiny little bar in St Kevin's Arcade, run by this middle-aged Chinese couple who didn't know what they had, and we started Kiss and Makeup Club there.
Well, it was pretty much Kiss and Makeup Club, but I didn't really go very often. I would always say that I was going to go, but I didn't actually go. Partly because the music was music that I wasn't actually specifically into, and partly because, I don't know, I just didn't have a lot of cool second-hand clothes. I didn't know what it was all about.
Well, Eden sort of came along after Paradise Bar. It was the same guy who owned it, and he closed Paradise. So naturally things just moved to Eden's.
It was a total dive, like absolute dive. It stank and the toilets were horrible and the PA was just a nightmare.
It was great, but it was horrible and great at the same time.
And then they started calling it the Eden's bar scene, which was pretty funny because we thought it was like the worst venue in town. So we actually stopped playing there because it was so bad. But a lot of people like got their first Auckland show there and stuff. So. Yeah. And it became like this big deal, like people would talk about it in other towns and say that they were going to play at Eden's Bar and stuff, which was pretty strange.
I certainly don't think there's one definitive indie sound, but there's loads of bands with an indie aesthetic to them. And they all vary, really, you know.
Indie's definitely, like, when people talk about indie, like, there's a lot of time it's like that indie rock and roll kind of sound, like really rock and roll. But indie really means, you know, like independent bands, unsigned, and, you know, hardcore and metal bands can be indie bands, really.
I don't think there's such a thing as this indie sound. I think that there's such a thing as an indie ethic. Punk rock in the 70s didn't sound like anything, like the Buzzcocks didn't sound like the Sex Pistols, who didn't sound like the Clash, yet they're all lumped together as being punk rock. And it's the same thing with indie, I think.
Well, indie's changed its meaning, hasn't it really? I mean, it used to mean independent label, and now it means a specific type of English kind of
sound.
Relatively pop music. Yeah.
The way I saw indie for me when I was growing up was more like, yeah, maybe there was a sort of sound, but more of a way of life, you know?
I just think that they think that a band has to be a certain way to be in a band. Like, you know, then
They
like
figure you have to
some
be
of them
good or
aren't
something,
ambitious.
but, yeah.
Like they don't think they're going to get big international contracts, but they think that you have to dress a certain way.
I think that indie is a lot more kind of widespread, you know, it's kind of quite mainstream almost in some ways, like, you know, Supre and Glasson's selling stripy t-shirts and 80s skirts and, you know.
It's become a scene.
A few years ago I jokingly coined a phrase called the blendy indie, where it's like where everyone's going to start looking the same, and it's kind of already happening.
The umbrella's got wider of what is indie. You just need to dress indie now. So people will classify them as an indie band, and so anybody in the wider public will just think anybody who's wearing tight jeans is in an indie band.
There are a lot of sort of new indie bands that are doing really well. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I don't know. You might say, oh, the Strokes are sold out because heaps of people like them, but you go and see them play and they're incredible, you know. They're one of the best live bands I've seen.
Is a music bad because a whole lot of people like it? I don't think that's a logical argument, but it is logical to say if you write music in order for it to be popular, i.e. make it cheesy and it's not good, it's just designed to be accessible or whatever.
Imagine walking down the road and some person that you think's really ugly thinks you're really hot. You've got no control over that.
So, I mean, I suspect we'll just see something happen against it, and if you look at like things like new rave and things like that, which is basically just sort of like kicking completely against indie in order to be indie again.
I don't know, like I can't play guitar, so obviously I can't do guitar music, but I don't know, I play keyboard like sort of inspired by, say, like classic grunge bands and like noise music as well. I'm not like the only guy around who plays keyboard and stuff. Like there's lots of awesome, like really rad groups all doing like amazing combination of like rock and like keyboard stuff as well.
To be honest, I don't know whether the indie scene in Auckland will stay the same, and if it does, I don't think it will be that interesting.
Well, everyone that's playing guitars now, they might start making music with computers, or they might start playing saxophones or something like that, but it'd be disappointing if it died out completely, but we'll still be playing.
I've heard people say that it's over, but I think it hasn't even started yet. Like, it's just a new way of doing it, you know?
I think people are already starting to do that, like branch off into sort of indie mix with something else. Like there's quite a few bands that are starting to do that.
Because the genres are getting mashed up quite rapidly and then getting mixed in with this, you know, hyper-information age way of dealing with the stimulation, and it's just getting faster and faster. I ask myself every day where it's going to go, if if we're going to ditch all electrical instruments eventually and then go back to, I don't know, something a little bit more primitive.